Have you ever bought an album? You don't know this group, or you know the group, but you've never bought anything, and you buy that album, and you fall in love with it. I mean, you go, wow, this is so great. This is so interesting. And, you know, and you take that album, you look it all over, front, back, you read every little word, you memorize all the lyrics. And it's like the greatest thing. Says, I really like this group. I'm going to get some more of their stuff. And you look and you see, well, these are the albums that everyone says are the best. This is what you should have in your collection. And so you go buy them. And you just scratch your head and go, well, that's not the album I heard. Their music's totally off and totally different. I don't get it. And so you have this one album, and it's your favorite from that group, but no one else is going to agree with you, or very few. You've had that happen? I do a lot. So there's a lot of albums, and many of you that have watched my videos, or as I watch your videos, and you may go, oh, this is an okay album. And I'm going, what do you mean? That's the best one they have. That's the best one they had. And a lot of it deals with what we hear first. Now, I recently, on my podcast that I do with Jim Gleason at Radio Wasteland Records, we talked about this subject. I've been working on this for a long time, and I just haven't got around to doing it. And Jim and I were talking. I said, well, why don't we just do it on the podcast? And so we did. And I have more albums that I did show because we only had so much time. But check out our podcast, Two Guys Talking About Records. It's on Spotify. It's on iHeart, Apple, and Facebook, and of course on YouTube on the channel Radio Wasteland Records. And it's a great podcast. I mean, it's only about music. We don't get into anything else. And the thing is, we actually have a lot of fun doing it. You know, it's just, we have a good time. It's not about being super serious here. We're just enjoying ourselves. So, but we talked about this subject. It was a few weeks back. And so I had all these records set out. I go, well, you know what? I just need to show the damn thing. So let's do this. So the first one, my favorite Kinks album, Kinks, State of Confusion, because it has on here, Come Dancing, however the song goes, I don't know. And Don't Forget to Dance. I guess 2 songs about dance. That's what I must like about it. This was my very first Kinks album I ever bought. Now, I knew of the Kinks. I knew Lola. You know, everyone knew Lola. I was in college by the time this came out. When did this come out? 1983. Oh, no, hell, I was out of college. But I never bought a Kinks. And so I thought, I'm going to try this. And I did. And I go, wow, that is really, really good. And so, you know, I read some other things. 60s Kinks is where you need to go. They had, what was that, Garage Hit? I mean, they had a couple singles that I do know. But I listened to their albums. It's kind of, well, okay. They didn't do a lot for me. But this was one that I pulled. And, you know, my previous collection, I had a huge, discography of these groups. But when I was going to play the Kinks, this is the number one I pulled. It meant a lot to me when I bought it. I just go, wow, these are some cool songs. But the other ones weren't like that. Here's one. And the very first album I ever bought from Leonard Cohen. I knew of him. I've read, 1,001 albums you need to listen to before you die, stuff like that. But I'd read a review about this, one of my many magazines that I bought, and on here they had The Future and Waiting for a Miracle. I mean, it's just a 1-2, then Be For Real. And it was kind of a dark, mysterious, and a very kind of stark. And I loved it. I thought, wow, this is great. I wonder if all the rest of the Cohen albums are just like this. Well, they really weren't. And, they're okay. I didn't mind them. And I know Brian, Embryonic Robot, I know that he is your man. Loved this guy. But this is the one that does it for me. I was so happy to see when this was back out on vinyl, because I had the CD and I played it an awful lot. This came out in '92, and my favorite Cohen album of all times. And it comes with The Future and Waiting for the Man. I think those two songs are spectacular, but the rest of the album I really, really liked also. I don't mind Leonard Cohen. I don't mind his other stuff, but this is what I'm going to play. My very first Cohen album. Here was one, and we showed this on the podcast. My favorite Rolling Stones album. Bought this. This is my very first Rolling Stones album I bought in college, because the disc, yes, we're talking flashing balls, the whole work. When I was in college, that was a deal. Starship Enterprise, and they had Miss You was out there being played. Shattered was being played on the dance floor. Beast of Burden, Respect. I mean, they had a ton of songs on this. This thing is so chock full with fantastic tunes. It is incredible. I mean, blows my mind. Now, I like the other Rolling Stones albums. I have quite a few of them right now, but when I'm going to, most of them I'm good. I'll put on the greatest hits, and I can hear all those hits that I want. This one here, song after song after song, I love on here. Some Girls, Lies, Faraway Eyes, that's okay. Imagination. Man, this is a fantastic. It's my favorite Rolling Stones album by far, over all the rest. I know this heresy, isn't it? I might get kicked out of this whole VC thing for that. I don't know. I don't think I'm messing with the Beatles. I just stayed away from that. Now I've showed this one, the Roxy Music. Very first Roxy Music album. I bought it because More Than This and Avalon. But more than this, my God, that was gorgeous. It's during the height of the Romantic period there. You had ABC, Lexicon of Love, and all these other groups dressing up, putting on fancy suits, looking good. Brian Ferry was made for that period of music, and out came Avalon. And I bought that, and I was like, man, this is so gorgeous. I need to try some more Roxy music. Opened up a book, these are the ones you need to write, listen to. And I put them on, and I'm just going, what the heck was that? Squawking saxes, weird things happening. I mean, it sounded like a whole strange new world. Where's Avalon? Where's that beauty? Where's the gorgeousness of the whole thing? I didn't get it. Now, let's face it, Roxy Music covers back in the 70s. That sold. Sex sells. Oh yeah, man, when it came to Roxy Music, it sure helped. And people love those albums. And you know what? I don't mind them. At first, I did not like them whatsoever. But this, for me, is the very best Roxy Music album, by far. Let's go into a few of these here. Here's one, XTC. I was actually looking for this album. I was trying to do something else, and I go, where's that album? And I can't find it, and I'm searching and searching through my racks looking for this. I go, how could I not put XTC in the right place? First off, there aren't that many X albums to start with. How could I have thrown it wrong? It was in this pile. I spent some time looking for that. What a waste. Very first XTC album I ever bought. Blew my mind. And, like kind of that paisley, psychedelic type sound that was going on. Very Beatlesque. And again, I'm not a huge Beatles fan. I like the Beatles. Don't get me wrong. Don't come, put effigies on my house or something, for God's sakes. But this had definitely that vibe to it. What a wonderful, beautiful album. Mayor of Simpleton, I just is incredible on there. It's just such a fun. Garden of Earthly Delights. I mean, wow. Blows my mind. King for a Day. Here comes Scarecrow People. Here comes President Kill Again. Love that song. Side one on this is just pure pop goodness. Absolutely fantastic. XTC, I have all their albums, most all of them back into my collection. I like them all, but nothing compares to this. None such is close, though. Very, very close to this one, but that's my favorite. I had this through Columbia Record Club, came in. I did not send in my card because I was pretty lazy on that, or just blew it off, and in came this album. And I go, well, look at that artwork. Isn't that something? Who's Jethro Tull? Who is that guy? You know, oh, it's a group, really? And not knowing a thing, I put this on, and it starts off with my lords and my ladies. And I go, wow, that's kind of weird. And this starts really kind of quiet. And then it explodes. Martin Barr explodes with that guitar, and away it goes. And I just fell in love with this. You know, Minstrel and the Gaye, Cold Wind to Valhalla, such a like beauty, just a beautiful song out there. Black Satin Dancer, gorgeous. Requiem, soft and wonderful. Very much the Elizabethan age was going on. Baker Street Muse had, you know, 4 different songs and some really hard rockers. Yeah, it became by far, it's still my favorite Tull album. Yes, over Aqualung, over, you know, Thick as a Brick or whatever. This is the one that I reach out to. Now, the next 2 Tull albums I bought were Songs from the Woods and the 3 Elizabethan ones. And all 3 of them I truly like. Then I went back to his back catalog. I saw him in concert a couple times as he was promoting these, and truly, you know, fell in love with Tull, especially through the 70s. But this is, to me, the best Tull album. Same with this one. It's right there with my very favorite Led Zeppelin. It was the first Led Zeppelin album. I did not know who Led Zeppelin was till a friend of mine, when I'm in a little 5 and dime store that has like 2 cubicles of records. And I ask him, well, what's a good group I should try? And he goes, Led Zeppelin? I go, well, who are they? And he pulled this out. Now I'm 16 right now. AM radio did not play Led Zeppelin. Now, my brother went to college. When he came back, he introduced me to Led Zeppelin 4. The first 2 Led Zeppelins, it took me years to really get into. They were really hard, I thought. But I do like them a lot now. I love Led Zeppelin. But this was my first. This is the one that got me hooked to them. It had Achilles' Last Stand. Achilles' Last Stand could do no wrong in my book. It went on and on and on. But it was absolutely gorgeous. It was so much fun, so rocking, and you know, and I was big into the Iliad. At that time, I've read the Iliad 2-3 times, as a matter of fact. And of course, they don't ever put the tracks on here because that would be too easy to do it. But yeah, For Your Life. Then we got New Orleans. That's okay. Nobody's fault but mine. Fantastic. Candy Store Rock. Absolutely awesome. Hot's On for Nowhere. A lot of people kind of poo-poo this one. I understand that. I mean, I do get it. It is not 1-2. It's not 5, not 3. But this was my first Led Zeppelin. And I spent many, many hours looking at this thing going, whoa, what is that? You know, picture after picture. Whoa, what is that about? You know, when you're a teenager, sometimes you don't have a lot to do. So that's what you kind of do. So, yeah, very favorite Led Zeppelin. About this one here. My favorite Lou Reed. What's my favorite Lou Reed? Well, I'll show you my favorite Lou Reed. New York. Now, a lot of people might agree on that one. This is the best Lou Reed. You know, it's not the 70s. It's not Transformer. This was my first Lou Reed that I bought. And every single song on here is fantastic. To me, there's not a bad song on here. It's one of my probably my top 20 albums, I'm positive, of all time. Never tired of this thing. I just think Lou Reed was at his absolute peak. And he put out some good stuff in the 70s, and he put out some real crap in the 70s. Same thing happened in the 80s. This, to me, is his masterpiece, and is by far my all-time favorite Lou Reed. My very first Bob Dylan album. What was that, you may say? Because I couldn't stand Bob Dylan. I just couldn't handle it. But I finally decided I'm going to buy a Bob Dylan album. And I bought Oh Mercy. I did not buy the Mo-Fi version, but I had an original actually on album. But when I redoing the collection, I got this one. Wow. I like this album a lot. This is my favorite Bob Dylan. I know there's Blonde on Blonde, there's Highway 61 Revisited that I do like. There's all these other ones from the 60s. This was my introduction to Bob Dylan, and I truly fell in love with this album. Now, not like the Tull album or, I mean, it's still Bob Dylan, okay? But I did have a very large Bob Dylan collection before, in my previous collection. Now it's much, well, I have a Bob Dylan box set of his 60s stuff, and there's a few others. I don't need a lot, but this is the one that I put on that I get absolute enjoyment. It is my favorite Bob Dylan, Oh Mercy. My first Bob Dylan. My first Marvin Gaye, I Want You. And again, did not send in my card to Columbia Record Club, and I got it. I'm looking at that picture and go, wow, look at that. Isn't that cool artwork? Isn't that neat? And I put it on and go, well, that's not how I heard it through the grapevine, that's for sure. I was pretty good at identifying things that weren't. But wow, that thing's sexy as all get out. That thing's hot. This was great in college. Fantastic. But love this. Love every track. I love the instrumental in here. It's just so wonderful, so beautiful, sexy. I think it's Vinyl Richie's favorite Marvin Gaye album too. See, we have an agreement there. Just incredible stuff. Great from start to finish. Couple left here. My very first Who album. Very first one. Now, let's face it, Who's Next might top this, but this is the one that introduced me to the Who that got me super excited. This is the one that I truly loved a lot. And I still love. I mean, new song, Sister Disco. Wow, Music Must Change. Who Are You, of course, is on here. I just sat down. I was in college. I'm playing this, and I'm just cranking it, just blowing, pissing off all my roomies in the dorm, my roommates, or in the hall, the other people in the hall, because this was so good. Now, I experimented with other Who stuff. Getting Greatest Hits does me well. Who's Next is phenomenal. Probably it competes with this one, but this is the one that really means a lot to me. This is my first Who album, and that I spent a lot of time with. And final one, I'll just show my very favorite, Earth, Wind, and Fire. And this is All in All, I believe. All in All. First Earth, Wind, and Fire I ever bought. Every song on this thing makes me happy. It makes you want to dance. It's just, of course, during the disco age, yay for disco. Incredible stuff. And yeah, favorite. So, you all have those, that you got albums that everyone else kind of scratches his head that you really, why is that? To me, I think it really comes down to that first album you bought from them, especially if it's a group you don't know, and you hear that and you go, man, you connect with it. You have this connection, but then you listen to some of their other stuff and you're hoping for that, what you just heard, but you don't get it. And it's what you really, really like. Now, you can convert over to the other stuff, suddenly go, well, you know what? I see what they mean on these other albums. And that happens all the time too. But on those are the ones that really, to this day, I got special love for. And they would all be in my probably top 100 albums of all time on my list. In fact, if you went back a number of years ago when I did it, I'm sure you'd see every single one of them on there. So, thanks for watching this thing. Again, let me know what yours are. Have yourself a great day, and I think I got a store tour coming up Thursday. I think. We'll see. Bye.